you notice, got the new background kind of kicking in here. I was really hoping to replace one of these heads with Jay.
Yeah, I'm a little because I'm a little off color for Jay, so I look a little different in
Yeah,
this one.
you're just a little paler than what we expect from Jay. But I was kind of hoping maybe like Michael J. Fox's head here, and then I'd be the Christopher Lloyd over there because you can't see his hair, so that
Yeah, but if you did that, Jay would just take that picture and just print it and have it permanently and then he'd always be like, I'm in the DeLorean.
But I'm okay with this. Welcome back to the Classics. The cinematic movie podcast takes you back to the iconic films of 20 years ago. I am your guy, Danger Neff, and with me is a good friend of mine. We've been having a lot of edible nights on Fridays. No, I'm just kidding. We're not here to promote our drug use or anything like that. But
no, never.
But he's a good friend of mine that I actually work with. Please give it up for Mr. James Alexander. How you doing, good sir?
Good. I was waiting for like a round of applause, and now it's on Zoom, so it's really weird.
We'll edit it in. How are things, man? I gotta love the background you got going on here. I think I see.
Oh, thank you. I just realized I need to iron my Lulu here. Mm-hmm. I can't even touch her. Oh my gosh, she's so far away. Yeah, this is my stream setup. So
yeah,
this is what I use when I stream.
Yeah, let's talk about that stream real quick. So you only stream on Twitch, which is fine. We talk a little bit about this idea of maybe combining our streams because there is technically a Beat Network stream, but we don't talk about that because that's on my Prime, and we don't. I don't give anybody the password.
Yep.
But it's very interesting with this whole streaming setup and streaming new things, and I kind of had this like great idea to try to start streaming videos and movies. And even some of my games, but nobody's going to want to watch me play, just to kind of get everybody there. So let's talk about your Twitch. What is your Twitch tag?
So my Twitch tag is RunResetRun, all one word.
All right.
So, and that describes exactly what I do in my Twitch. I play roguelike games. I do a run. I die, usually, because I'm bad at the game. I reset, and then I start over and run again.
Okay, so you frustratingly die one time and then restart yourself. So
yep.
It's kind of like the Diablo 2, Diablo 3 hardcore players.
Yeah, that's the best way.
And I think you definitely know this from my perspective, how often I die on like hardcore because I just think I'm badass, and then I up the torrent level or whatever, and then I get blitzed.
You sneezed, the wrong direction. Oh, there goes my character. Okay.
He sends me a text, and then that's it. How frustrating can that be to just constantly go back and forth with that?
So I like those games, so it's good. But sometimes, just when you're not ready for a stream or you're just not in that mindset, you do what I did a couple weeks ago, where I was just streaming, playing Heroes of the Storm. And I just kept missing all of my shots. I don't know if I was tired or something, but you just miss all your skill shots. And I slammed my hands down and was like, I'm done. I'm done streaming today. This was a 30-minute video, and I usually go for 4 hours. So bye.
That can be extremely frustrating, especially 4-hour videos. Like,
yeah,
I remember the one time here on Back to the Classics, we did an Oscar show with my sister, and by the end of the first hour, I was already like, okay, let's wrap this up. Let's keep going. That show wound up being pretty close to 3 hours. And it's like at the end of it, I was like, I'm so tired of talking about the Oscars because I don't. It's not that I don't like the Oscars. It's that the Oscar show should be as long as the actual show, dragging itself along. The way there. But what are some of the games that you've been currently streaming that's picked up steam, I guess?
Well, there's a very big one right now. A lot of people are starting to get into it. It just released. It's called Hades.
Okay.
It's probably one of the best games I've played this year, and that's saying something because I play a lot of games. Hades is just a roguelite where you play as the son of the underworld, or the son of Hades, hence the name of the game, trying to escape the underworld. I also play a lot of Heroes of the Storm. My other big one is Slay the Spire, which a lot of people know, but I've been playing a modded version where a fan went in, and I guess Steam just allows it, or some games allow it where you can mod the games.
Right.
And this mod lets you play as the bad guys instead of the good guys. And this guy made all the cards, all the villains, everything. And it's been pretty fun. Just as a mod that someone made, and I've been having hours of fun with it. It's crazy.
Well, that's pretty great. I know I know a lot of times with those mods, I keep thinking of like Skyrim and the mod where the guy literally crafted and modeled all the dragons to look like Thomas the Train Engine, and that was so much fun and terrifying all at the same time.
Yeah,
Constantly have these guys like happen there. But when do you stream? Do you have a normal day? Do you stream? It sounds like you stream for 4 hours, but is there a particular day that you stream and when people can catch you?
So if you go to Facebook and go to my Facebook page, Run Reset Run there, I always have my stream schedule up there. I wouldn't want to say it necessarily in the podcast because it might change, but my stream schedule is always up to date on my Facebook page.
Okay, great. So they can go to facebook.com or just search Run Reset Run.
All one word. Yep.
Very cool. So that being said, James is a good friend of mine, and I kind of wanted him to hop on a movie that I really enjoy, and I've probably seen like 3 times this year by itself.
Oh, this year? Okay. I was going to say, I've seen it like probably, and I'm not exaggerating, I've seen it, I think, maybe 30, 40 times overall. Wow. I love this movie so much.
Wow, no, that's great. We're taking this back all the way back to October 20th of 2000 with the release of Bedazzled, the Brendan Fraser, Elizabeth Hurley remake of the 1967 British comedy. I wouldn't call it necessarily a classic. But
same title too.
Really like it. A lot of people really like that version. So, original release date was October 20th of 2000. It does. Oh man, that's the one that got closed. Look at that. How awful is this? So unpredictable.
I have my notes up. What are you doing?
Dude, I was like, something closed, and I was like, oh, what closed during this time? Oh, I don't know.
You'll find out right when you need it.
right when I'm deciding to start talking about this. This is how unprofessional I am. So my apologies, guys. Original release date was October 20th of 2000, and shares it with Pay It Forward and also Legend of the Drunken Master. As well as Animal Factory, technically a product of Sound and Fury, which I'm assuming is based off the book, The Yards, and Calle 54. Box office budget of this movie was $48 million, and it wound up pulling in somewhere in the ballpark range of like $90 million, if I'm not mistaken. It's very, very little. It only has like a 42% like from audiences and a 50% like from critics on Rotten Tomatoes.
I find that surprising. That's like, I know some people are like, there's really not a gray area in this movie. You either like it or you don't. But to not like it that much, that's crazy.
Do you think that's low? I really think that's really low.
I think it's really low for the movie. Right. This is probably, okay, so other than The Mummy, of course, this is probably one of Brendan Fraser's most recognizable movies.
Sure.
If you don't count The Mummy.
Or Airheads. I always think of Airheads.
Airheads is funny. And Monkey Bone.
Yeah, and so on and so forth. Like Brendan Fraser was always that guy that he had comedic roles. He did do a serious role in School Ties, which is one of those movies that's like, oh, okay, who's going to be the who's who actors of the 1990s? It's like, oh, Ties. And he's always known for kind of these comedic, and then he got into the action role of The Mummy, and everybody thought it was great. But really, the star of this movie, and let's be fair, the the change of costumes 17 times during
19.
Yeah, 19 times
19 times.
during this entire movie. Elizabeth Hurley, who plays such a flirty devil, it really, really like makes you. She steals the spotlight every single time. I mean,
Yep.
she's coming in straight from the Austin Powers series with her British accent and these really skin tight like everything, and it's just absolutely amazing to kind of see her in this.
And if that's what the devil looks like, I mean, I guess hell isn't that bad, right? It can't be that bad.
No, it's pretty fantastic. Like, it was. Look, they're still talking about her to this day. Like, she just kind of like randomly popped up last year, and they're like, "Oh wait, Elizabeth Hurley still looks good." She's like 33, 34 in this movie, right? And she is stunning. Like, everything about her in this movie is stunning. She's very flirty and kind of playing very much the devil. Now, this movie does borrow some things from the original, but to kind of consider it like a true remake is not I would say is not true. And the reason why is because the original movie borrowed heavily from the short story The Monkey Paw, which the entire point of the Monkey Paw was the short story that was in the late 1800s, that basically talked about a gift of giving the gift of wishes. And it was always a monkey paw that always had 3 wishes. And each time you wish something horrible would happen with it. So you would get your wish convoluted to a way that it wasn't going to work out in your favor. And in the monkey paw, I really remember, like, there's basically 3 wishes, if I'm not mistaken. It was somebody wishes for 200 pounds, right? Which was like the equivalent of like 24,000 pounds in 2020.
Yeah.
The final mortgage payment on his house. And when he does so, when he does so, like he gets the money from life insurance because his son died from a terrible like machine accident.
Yep.
And then I think they only used 2 of the wishes. They
use all 3.
What's the second wish?
So the second wish is that they can see the sun again, and the sun is basically a zombie.
Right.
And so he's undead and he comes to the house. The third wish is for him to go away.
Right. It was, and they didn't even see the sun per se. They
No.
knock on the door.
They're like, nope, go away.
No, this is not possible.
And the monkey paw part too. I don't know if you've ever seen it. There is a couple different stories that aren't Bedazzled where they have the wish of the monkey paw, and it always has the 3. And when you do it, it very creepy puts 1 down, and that's how you know you used a wish. It's
right.
creepy.
And so, probably the most recent example that I like it, and I loved it when they did it in the show, was Rick and Morty. Which, because it's, first of all, they do it to save the devil per se, but you never get to find out like what's the bad side of that wish. It may have just been you save the devil, you save the devil, you save the devil.
Yeah.
Like that's already bad enough. So I don't really know how well you want to pull that one off. But I've always liked the idea of the monkey paw because it's very clear in other movies how much wishing can turn into this convoluted thing. I almost kind of think of like, maybe this isn't a perfect example, but I immediately think of like Pet Sematary. What would you do to if you had the power of the supernatural? What would you do to bring your most precious thing back to you? And it's like in the original Pet Sematary, it was horrifying. The remake of it wasn't. Like it was fine. Like my dad.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll give it to my dad because he liked it. But yeah, so it was very strange. Let me ask, if you had a monkey paw, what would you wish for?
I don't know, but I do know that I would write the wish down first and see if I can find any loopholes in it before I make the wish.
Right.
I mean, if we're talking about not just the monkey paw in general, but to fast forward a little bit, but the very last, or the second to last, third to last wish he makes. So the fourth wish that he makes was nearly perfect for what he wanted. So I don't understand why he just didn't say, I want that, but not gay.
Right. Well, I think it was. I think I look at that wish, and he kind of realized that he realized he was going to be defeated some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
way, shape, or form. The devil is always going to get their due, and it's hilarious because you and I play a lot of D&D. So whenever I think of like contract demons, I immediately think of this movie. This is exactly how a contract demon works. Like, they will fulfill anything you ask for, but something always winds up going bad for you in the long run. So let's get.
And my favorite joke too is, when you make a wish, you can't wish for more wishes. You're like, okay, fine, I wish for more genies.
Right. Exactly. All right. So let's get into this.
All right.
Elliot Richards, and this is a little strange because the very beginning of this movie, first and foremost, this is directed by Harold Ramis, which is already kind of weird because this is very different from what Ramis is used to kind of showing from like Dave and of course Groundhog's Day. You're used to kind of gain a little bit of that dark humor, but this movie really it doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of dark humor, but definitely has enough to kind of make you chuckle through it. So as the devil kind of runs this like computer simulation, and it's not very heavily implied, but you can kind of see it as they're scanning through, because the opening credits goes very, very fast, and they're scanning through all the cities, including going to like Vatican City, where they're like
one soul corrupted.
One soul is corrupted or something like that, which, okay, fine, if you believe that, I guess. And then they finally land on San Francisco, which is hilarious. And through San Francisco, as the computer simulation is kind of going through, again, you don't really know that's a computer simulation, but it's very clear at the very beginning that they're pinpointing out, like saints and sinners and things along that. And you finally get to Elliot Richards, played by a star, Brendan Fraser. And his whole thing was that he was a doormat. He opened the door for one person. 10,000 people decided to walk through this door without giving to go through.
I even think it literally at one point said doormat on his name. It actually said that he was a doormat.
And that's true. Like, that's literally what it said. So Elliot is this cringy, overzealous, geeky man who works for the software company. I guess it's definitely a computer company because it's definitely in the 2000s. And I'm assuming that is a form of tech support, and he's not very good at it.
It has to be tech support. It was Synodyne, which stood for Synergy and Dynamics, and it seemed like it was tech support. And when he got called up, they're asking stuff about like speakers or no, he was going over computer hardware specs. He's like, I see you got this, and it's a super slow computer by nowadays standards too, which was funny.
Oh yeah, no, you listen to the specs of it, and it's like, I think my phone is he's surrounded by coworkers that just don't like him. Orlando Jones, who plays Daniel, Paul Adelstein, who plays Bob, Toby Huss, who plays Jerry, and Miriam Shore, who plays Carol. And each one of these people really, really try to like avoid him at all costs. They're like, oh God, it's Elliot again. Hey, remember to tell me the proper time you guys went, because you guys told me 6:30 last time. When I got there, you guys were just leaving.
One of my favorite scenes in regards to this one was, I think it was the second friend that. Yeah, I think it was right before Jerry. So as he's at the vending machine, the guy getting the coffee he's like, yeah, okay. And so he starts walking out, and he's like, don't go in there. And then he walks in, and he's like, Jerry.
Now here's what I love about that particular scene, because I don't know if you noticed, but do you realize the departments they were going into? which speaks so much about you and me.
I didn't.
I mean, out of accounting, and the other guy was actually going into tech support.
That's funny.
So when you picked this, I was like, well, this is just perfect now.
Yeah.
Because I'm in accounting, you're in IT, obviously. So a bit hilarious. That evening, Elliot decides to go to a bar the bar in which he didn't think that his friends were going to be there. You know, he thinks they're his friends, and he goes there, and of course they're there, and they're dicks to him all around.
Yep.
And then his crush walks in, Allison Gardner, who's played by Frances O'Connor, and she's this very gorgeous, pretty much Californian girl with straight hair, really nice smile, and Elliot goes off, and he's kind of, they're like, you probably never even talked to Allison Gardner, and he knows way too many facts.
Yeah.
In 20,
he went straight stalker on her.
I know that she gets her bagel in the morning with a specific type of cream cheese. He says a cream cheese,
buttered, not toasted.
Even the woman that was at the table was like, "Wow, that's specific." I was like, "This is a joke that happened so often, so many years later."
Yep.
And as it goes up to Allison, he kind of lacks his courage to really ask her out. And afterwards, Elliot is ditched by his coworkers while trying to talk to him. And he said out loud he would give anything to try to get with Allison.
Yep.
At this point, a cue ball gets hit off the table, rolls its way magically across this bar.
Yeah, it wasn't just 5 feet either. It was 100 feet down a winding path through a Rube Goldberg machine to get to where he was. Yeah,
it was 40 yards away. Okay, and it just so happened to clink into his foot, and we get the introduction to the devil in the form of a beautiful woman. Elizabeth Hurley overhears him and offers to give Elliot 7 wishes in exchange for her soul. Why 7? Well, in the original movie, the idea of the 7 wishes was all kind of based upon the 7 deadly sins, obviously. But they didn't really want to go that route for this movie. And I can't really blame them for not trying to go that route because they weren't really trying to really copy that too much. But in every single one of the wishes, you notice there is some form of those wishes that kind of goes around that.
Definitely.
Even
the arguable not a wish.
Right. Which it was, but it wasn't. So to begin this whole deal, to form this thing, and mind you, Hurley is beautiful. She is just at one point takes him over to this table and just kind of says, "Kiss me," and lays all across this these 2 girls who are trying to enjoy, I guess, a beer or something.
It looked like they were drinking coffee, but at 9 at night.
Must be graveyard, I guess. Your eyes are not baggy enough to work graveyard. So as a test, Elliot wishes for a Big Mac with a large Coke. And she says, "Your wish is my command." Mind you, in the process, actually torching a car on fire.
Yeah.
Problem. She says, "Your wish is my command."
That's my favorite part. She snaps and then a bus shows up.
Right. Which means you had to pay for the bus fare to get your way to this McDonald's. And at this McDonald's, a Big Mac and a large Coke is basically ordered. And of course, Elliot kind of says, "I don't even think that was really fair." Which now kind of begs the question a little bit: was it actually fair? The contract wasn't signed at that point.
It wasn't signed,
right?
But if they could, it's weird because the terms where you get 7 wishes, and even though the contract wasn't signed, you still made a wish.
Right, because he said the word
I wish.
So Elliot has to pay for it because there's no such thing as a free lunch. And Elliot is then taken to her office, which is the nightclub DDH, which I'm going to give you a little trivia.
It's probably the same trivia I just found.
What is that? Where was that building previously used for?
Fight Club.
That is correct. Lou's Tavern or Lou's Club.
Lou's Diner.
Right, Lou's Diner. That building, that same building was used in the movie Fight Club. Now, funny enough, there was a DV8 in San Francisco, and that was actually held in a basement, although luckily it wasn't in the basement of that club, of that club itself. And as Elliot kind of gets there, every little thing is kind of screaming out to him to say, wow, I really like this attention. Everybody comes out with their, and he looks like a bum, of course, but they're coming out, trying to get selfies with him. And I do say selfies because selfies back in the day was, oh, by the way, here's how I wanted to really hit on this. Here's how pathetic Elliot is. For some odd reason, he carries a handful of photos of
Polaroids
stereo equipment.
From the Ingebrigtsens.
The back, the sides, everywhere. I mean, pulls them out.
Uh-huh.
Did you ever carry photos like that weren't in your wallet?
I have not. And it actually throws back to like, I think it was Big Bang Theory and a few other shows where he like did a magic trick and then like pulled his thumb off or, pulled a cord over his ear. Right. And the little girl's like, do you really just walk around with that in your pocket the entire time?
But it's true. It's true. So anyways, as Elliot's getting pulled in the nightclub, girls are handing him his number, a couple other things like he's given like his grandmother's cookies, which now kind of begs me to question: is your grandma in hell?
Well, that's also funny too. He's like, these are the cookies these look like the cookies my grandma used to make, and then take a bite. These are the cookies that my grandma used to make.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, so is your grandma in hell? Like,
yeah.
Because how does she have this knowledge? She's not allowed back up in heaven. Was it shared?
Yeah, maybe it's a shared thing.
So, of course, he goes and he signs his contract, and through the contract, he has to say the words "I wish" before doing so. And I'm just going to tell you, these wishes are absolutely ridiculous, but they're hilarious all in the same time.
Oh yeah,
the first one kicks in because he says he wants to be rich and he wants to be powerful and he wants to have a lot of money and he wants to be of importance, but of real importance, and he wants to be married.
Yes, keyword married.
Married to Allison. So what winds up happening is he's transported. You hear the Gypsy Kings, Bim 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 Maria, start playing through as Elliot with this ridiculous black hair, black mustache is sitting there shirtless with his wife. It looked like it was mid-noon.
Yeah.
It looked like 9 a.m. or something like that. It looked like it was noon. And he goes and he peers out, and he has this beautiful view of what looks to be a South American coast. And he goes downstairs, and he's so excited, and he's so happy because he looks so handsome. And a guy,
and he's speaking Spanish.
Okay, so I have to talk about the Spanish. I am from Spain. I was born and raised in Spain when I moved to the United States. So Spanish was my first language. The accent that Elliot is trying to use is actually my father's accent in Spanish. Every single time I hear it, every single time I hear Elliot speaking it, no, gracias, soy That is exactly how my dad like speaks Spanish, and it cracks me up. My dad is a white boy from Kansas, to give you an idea.
Okay.
But there's a lot to kind of love about this scene, and it's not a scene that like sticks for other people, and I get that. But it's like hola Esteban, hola Carlos, hola me llamo Elliot, just like
yep.
That. And I can't handle the scene. I keep laughing every single time. So as he goes out and he sees he's established. The scene is that
established.
Misestables. He goes out where the three guys from before from his office are now working under him in this particular dream. And in this dream, he goes and he recognizes that he has this beautiful horse and these beautiful stables with loyal men. And he looks over and his wife is getting handsy with the English teacher.
Very.
Raul. He even rolled his tongue. I was cracking up. So after confronting them and finding out that she's been, of course, cheating on him with Raul, finds out that she doesn't love him whatsoever and wants nothing to basically do with him, even though she's partaking in everything. I gotta give credit to Frances O'Connor here because she even does like a Spanish English voice at one point, which is she's like, I go to Los Angeles. She sounds like Sofia Vergara.
She does. She said, I think I is to visiting the Los Angeles for the time of vacation.
Time of vacation.
And he's like 6 months, and that's all you've learned how to say. Great.
And only in 6 months with
Raul.
So of course, going back after an argument with Allison to find out that she doesn't love him, care for him, or whatever, decides to go to the factory where a problem has actually happened. And of course, in the factory, you find out what the truth is, which is he is a Colombian drug lord.
Es cocaína.
Cocaine. Oh, you're trying to convince him something. He goes, because he stole half a gram, because somebody stole something, was stealing half a gram of cocaine. But he was like, because he's stealing half a gram of flour or sugar.
It's cocaína.
Here's the best part about this. This entire thing is done in Spanish, and it goes on for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious to me because they're really trying to play out this like telenovela sequence. And in the process, of course, things go south. Raul comes in saying he's going to take over the business, and a whole sequence of fight breaks out. Elliot breaks away, gets onto the leg of a chopper, falls off when he loses his pager, which the pager is how he can go back to the devil to basically say that I need to wish for other wishes. Yeah. And of course, the number is 666, and the process does so and gets transported back. When he gets transported back, he is slammed onto a cop car and basically ruins that cop car.
Yeah, hard.
As of course, Elizabeth Hurley, who is playing a traffic meter maid, goes and ruins like a whole bunch of lights and causes like a 27 car collision or something. Decides to sneak. They said, well, we need to find out more about Allison and kind of figure out what she likes in a guy. And they go into her room, find her diary, and in her diary talks about first of all, they opened the diary and they talked about, I don't know who these guys were, but they all came back, all five of them, and they basically huge gangbang. He was like, what? They're like, no, I'm just kidding.
Just kidding.
So finding out from the diary that she really likes sensitive guys. I really just want to know a guy who's sensitive.
This scene actually has one of my other favorite parts in it too. When she's walking and she walks through him, and he's like, for one moment, we were like one person, just like in Ghost. And he's like smiling.
Yes, Ellie. Good job, Ellie. So they go and he says, I want to be the most sensitive guy in the world. And Elizabeth Hurley like immediately kind of gives like emotionally sensitive guy. She goes, yeah, you got it. You got it on this one.
I could have had fun with that.
He looks like Justin Timberlake of the 2000s with red hair and green eyes and a retainer. There's for sure a retainer or false teeth.
Yeah, there's something
that's in there because it's bad. And Elliot, while talented, just can't get over his emotions. And this is not really that long of a scene, but can't get over his emotions as he keeps looking at that damn
the damn sunset. Where's the third thing gonna set?
He's like, a couple of things that he tries to do is like he made I made this salad that has
dolphin safe tuna. Salad niçoise with dolphin safe tuna.
And she's all like she loves him, you could tell, but it's definitely one of those like moments that's like it's so cringy because you hear how ridiculous he sounds, and I gotta be honest, I know guys who were like this.
You know what's funny about this scene is they did a
California.
They did a test for an audience, and the test they did for the audience was even worse than this. And they said they had to tone it back to this because it was so cringy.
I mean, it was bad. Like you're just like, oh my God, I can't handle this guy. Winds up playing like a little guitar, a song about the dolphins, and as he's getting he says, "You're so beautiful. Can I sketch you?" Takes like 10 seconds to sketches her
to do it, yeah.
Little thing, so immensely talented, but it's just like, oh my God, dude, can you pull it back? Like you need to be a dude, because you weren't being a dude at that point.
So got another piece of trivia for this scene, by the way.
Good.
The super amazing rendition of that dolphin song. Do you know who was playing the actual guitar?
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis himself was.
That's right.
Which means that he wrote that song.
May he rest in peace. So of course things kind of go south as these three dudes, of course his buddies, from work, come in and start being a jerk, start kicking sand in his face, and Allison says the one thing that is just so hilarious. She's like, I just really want a guy who only pays attention, who only pretends to really care about what I'm thinking about, and then just wants to tell me to shut up and have a beer with me, or just shit like that. And of course, Elliot keeps looking at the sunset and just keep crying.
He just keeps crying. I'll get into your pants.
Winds up going back. So
what is that? We're at 1, 2, 3 wishes already.
That's 3 wishes. The 4th wish, Elliot decides that he says, you know what? I want to be a next level athlete.
This is, I think, my favorite wish.
Oh, it's pretty damn good. I want to be this next level athlete that's just like amazing. I want to be a professional basketball player. Immediately, Elizabeth Hurley says, I got it. Dennis Rodman. There was a picture of Elliot has a nose piercing.
Yep.
Tattoos on his face and has like the orange fufu and like a leopard print jacket and like tight pink leather pants. I couldn't stop laughing when I watched it today because that really was how Dennis Rodman was dressing back in the late.
And his scream too when he realized it, he's like, ah! Just
So of course, she says, no, I got it. Michael Jordan. And they transform him into this 7'6", blonde hair, dumb as rocks, Southern. I'm assuming Southern because of the accent here. A superstar who had somehow scored 104 points in this game, still wound up making 17 assists and 45 rebounds in this game alone, dunking everywhere. And what has to really help with the scene is that they have the announcers. And of course, again, his buddies.
Yep.
And one of them, and Orlando Jones must have been making fun of Charles Barkley because the way that he was sounding throughout this whole thing was just like one of the guys was like, Elliot Gardner, he's playing. He's playing like he's he's playing like he's 10, 10
11, 12 foot tall.
And like Atlanta Jones is like, no, I don't think he's that big.
I don't think he's that big. No. I'm saying the game he plays.
They cut to the announcer after the game, and even the announcer, whose name is Bob, is just like he kind of throws a mic into his face and is asking legitimate questions. And Elliott's just like, well, you got to give 110%, and
you just got to play the game.
you try to play it good, and you hope you play good. Yeah. I think we play pretty good out there tonight. Just got to get out there and get 110%. I can't not laugh at that, because there's a scene in Bull Durham where Costner is talking to Tim Robbins, and he's literally treating him like that. He goes, you need to know how to talk to the press. I just want to thank God. And like, uses all these lines at like the end of the movie. It's so freaking hilarious. So
he played for the Diablos, correct?
Did. Do you know who was the team that he played against?
The Shirts.
The Shirts.
The Shirts. That's a good team.
Of course, as he goes into the locker room, and the locker room, first of all, the towel he's wearing must have been slightly bigger than the hand towel.
Yeah. If not, it was just a hand towel.
This is pretty short. It reminds me of that Starsky and Hutch scene where they actually go and wear hand towels instead. And Allison, of course, is playing a reporter this time. And the reporter goes and start asking him all sorts of questions,
loaded with innuendo, by the way.
Heavily. She's like, it must make your ego pretty big. He's all like, big. She's like, oh, it's probably pretty big. He goes, it's a little bit bigger than you think. Of course, as he unfolds his towel, she's like, oh my God. Like, screaming backwards. And Elliot goes, he's like, oh, what the hell?
Damn the devil to hell.
He's got like this little dick. I can't help but laugh at this.
Well, because you have to imagine how small it has to be to get that kind of a reaction.
Oh man, because she was shocked.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, that's cute. She was like verbally taken like
it's almost an innie. So in this process, of course she goes, I'm really working on like a big story for the NFL right now. And it kind of does that like reporter thing where she's like, catch you later, And as he goes and he's trying to like guess the number, of course he's so dumb. He's all like 555. He has written everywhere in his locker room 666. 555. Yeah, 777. Yeah. Grabs one of the tags, flips it upside down.
999.
Duh. So at this point, we have Elizabeth Hurley, who is playing a school teacher in this ridiculous schoolgirl outfit. Like, it was unfair how good she looked in that outfit. Even to this day, I'm like, oh my God, that is wow. Now,
it's almost like it fit her.
No, it's almost like it came from her own closet or something like that. As she's teaching the class to these schoolboys, which I don't know where they're from, but sounds American.
Yeah.
She goes and on the board is a whole list of little things. Were you able to catch any of them?
Yeah, I did read this one too, and actually I caught this. Not the theorem itself that I know we're going to talk about, but what to look for because of Big Bang Theory. So if you watch Big Bang Theory, always in the background, there's always some kind of formula that's the actual correct formula,
right?
That's always being worked on.
So the formula that we're discussing here, as she goes and erases the board, the formula that we're discussing here is x to the nth power plus y to the nth power equals z to the nth power, which sounds like the Pythagorean theorem, but it's not. It's the idea is if you were able to change the exponent instead of to square or two, which gives you the formula for the correct formula for right angle triangle. Instead, it's the idea of how anything that's greater than two you cannot prove otherwise. And it became known this was a very, very famous mathematical equation that started back in the 1650s or something like that, maybe
Yeah.
earlier, known as Fermat's last theorem. And for many years, nobody either took enough time to try to explain it, or it wasn't going around to. It wound up actually finally getting explained in 1995 by Sir Alex Wiles, who would later win the equivalent of the Nobel Peace Prize or the Nobel Prize in Mathematics, only the actual mathematics one,
Yeah.
as he was able to explain it. And so it was kind of this cute little anyone.
They use computers, by the way.
They did have to use computers at this time. And why is it important? It's not necessarily important in terms of how we're going to discuss here in the movies, but in cryptography, they use this theory a lot, and how it kind of opened up the world of cryptography a lot, as well as the use of elliptical circles. Blah 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 blah. Not going to really get too deep into it, but please go ahead and check that out if you're interested in mathematics like that. But as she's kind of saying, whatever in this room, he finally Elliot wants to be articulate. He wants to be handsome. He wants to have a good weenie size, and all of those things. And he comes out, and I always kind of find this a little foreshadowing a bit, because as Elliot comes out, he's this gorgeous raconteur, and of the San Francisco scene, where all these peoples are like celebrating him, as he's a really, really famous author, as well as, I'm assuming, philosopher, who goes and everybody pretty much loves him. He talks a little bit too much, but
Yeah.
it's no worse for wear, as he's this like really intelligent guy. And some of the theories that he kind of brings up a little bit later in conversation as he's speaking with Allison, of course, who is a attendance of this book presentation, or I guess this gala, I guess you can call it. Is they kind of briefly talk about Camus, who is my personal favorite philosopher, and Sartre, who wrote the very famous philosophical book No Exit. And in the book No Exit, they talk about how hell is other people, how the plane of existence of hell is literally on this solo plane,
Yep.
and not so much about other people. So that kind of leads a little bit to the foreshadowing to the end. Of course, as LA, and this is probably the most boring one, let's be fair, because it's kind of just like a lot of filler talk that kind of happens. But as they go back to the apartment after it seems like everything is going to go through, of course, Elliot is gay.
Yeah.
and the guy proves it by saying, "Oh, who was in this production of kind of whatever," right? And he goes and he starts listing off all the actors. He's like, "Oh my God, I am gay." And it's not so much that it's like necessarily homophobia that's coming out of here. It's in the 2000s during that time. The curve hasn't had it fully happen at that point.
Well, and not just that. His wish is that he gets Allison. That's like his ultimate goal.
Right,
And
exactly.
that's so far away from his ultimate goal now.
Right, exactly. Because now he feels like he can't win and he can't earn anything. So of course he goes back after kissing her. So that was wish number 5. We're on to the last wish, which is where he actually wishes himself to become president of the United States. He wishes to become president of the United States, and this is literally the shortest one.
Yep.
as he looks in the mirror as becoming president of the United States, because he was kind of on to something when he says, well, I really want to be there to help people. I want to be there I want to leave a legacy. I want people to really know who I am, right? And as he becomes president of the United States, he becomes Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
And actually Abraham Lincoln,
Yeah.
not Elliot anymore. His name is Abraham Lincoln. And he is literally inside the Ford Theater to watch an American cousin getting ready for the John Wilkes Booth shot. And let me be fair here. It is funny. It is almost might cut that out because I feel like they could have done either could have extended that scene a little bit or done something different. And like when they one of the things that made me laugh though was that they were like, Mr. President, how have you been? And he goes, just trying to save the Union and dealing with my for sure insane wife.
Yeah.
And as he goes to sit down, of course, you get John Wilkes Booth that comes up and says his most famous line, Sic Semper Tyrannis. Before so, Elliot looked for his pager because he knows how this story is going to end. And says, you know what? I'm not going to deal with this, and gets out right before the shots get fired. And you hear the shots.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. So afterwards, Elliot's kind of sitting there and he's kind of pondering about the whole idea of this experiment. And as he goes and speaks again with the devil, this time his tone has noticeably changed. He noticed
his entire demeanor has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. He's no longer interested into doing this. So Elliot is arrested after first discussing with the devil at work. Like how is it that I only have I still have 2 more wishes left, and she reminds him of the Big Mac and Coke, which I don't know if that was supposed to play well with the devil, because this is supposed to be the Lord of Lies, the Prince of Lies. So for her to not go that route was a little interesting in my case. But once he realizes things are going wrong, and only talking to a blank computer at this point because he's at his job and his job and everybody is kind of like messing with him a little bit, but this time he's really taking matters into his own hands. He literally threatens a guy. I don't know how he wasn't fired on the spot, but he literally
he grabs him.
he's like, see you later, Bob. And
Bob's like,
yeah, everybody else was like ducking down.
My favorite. So you had one that like went into the cubicle, one that went into the other cubicle, and the other guy in the back just kind of like just starts walking down.
So as he starts to ponder, he decides to go to a church. And at the church, he decides to kind of confess his crimes to the priest, who is played by none other than Brian Doyle Murray. And he's basically saying, look, I sold my soul to the devil. And she says, I sold my soul to the devil for wishes. And she says that I have 1 wish left, when I said that I had 2 wishes left because I don't consider the Big Mac and Coke, right? Which, fair enough. But he gets arrested for being drunk and disorderly, which, fine. As he gets arrested, Elizabeth Hurley, who is now playing the cop, and God, that cop outfit was amazing, decides to say, why don't you just wish yourself out of here? We can finish up with this. So he spends the night and he disagrees. He spends the night in the drunk tank, and he speaks to somebody who is heavily implied to be God, who is played. I know him most from Black Hawk Down. Gabriel Cassius as God. And as which is hilarious because his name is Gabriel, and then Cassius was another, whatever. Yeah. Whatever, that's just me. As he's kind of speaking more to him, he realizes that his soul doesn't really belong to him and belongs to God. It's more about whatever you wish to kind of reflect and do. So Elliot the next day gets out, decides to walk to DV8, which has all these tired souls, dancing and just kind of like limping around, and decides to finally speak to the devil. And the devil this time has noticeably taken a different tone. As she appears as like a white angel, and he says, "I don't want this last wish. I don't want it whatsoever." And she goes, "That's not the deal. The deal is you get 7 wishes. You must do something, or something else. You should read your contract because there's a time limit on this thing." So he says, "No, I don't want it." So she decides to transform herself into the actual devil.
Beelzebub himself.
And then transformed herself in a leopard print bikini, which is really and as Elliot looks like he's about to burn in damnation for all eternity, he decides to I wish Allison a happy life. And she says, "Oh God." Cuts to Elliot waking up in the middle of a courthouse. In the courthouse, Elizabeth Hurley again in a lawyer outfit this time. This is really unfair because she is really gorgeous in this movie. Yeah. Decides to inform him that you did the one thing. She, because Elliot was kind of saying, and I didn't really hit on this, but Elliot was saying how it's not about, of course we have all these wishes and we wish for all this. We wish for all these wonderful things, but sometimes you really have to work on these things to even get what you want to wish for. He goes, it's not about so much exactly what I want, but sometimes it's about how much of an impact that I can have. Good message. So she explains to him that he broke the contract by making a wish for somebody else instead of making it for himself. Finally, he decides to break it, and of course. She says, "Close to 6,000 years I've been on this earth," which is again a bit hilarious because that also implies that the earth was created 4,000 years ago, or 6,000 years ago. I guess in this case, 4,000 years before the birth of Christ.
Yep.
Decides to kind of suggest whatever. Which, by the way, the birthday of the earth, according to this, is October 23rd. So mark that on your calendars, please. As we celebrate.
It's coming up. It's coming up quick from the time of recording. By the time you listen to it, it's 3 days later?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe a week later. So please make sure you mark that on your calendars. October 23rd of 2020, we will be celebrating the Earth's birthday once again. So because he's out of the contract, he kind of realizes how much worth it was. And again, Elizabeth Hurley kind of says the whole good me versus him, good versus evil. It's all just a bunch of politics. He goes, really, it's completely up to you. It's completely up to what you believe. It's you create the heaven or the hell that you are currently in. Again, a good message.
Yeah.
This movie wraps itself up as he decides to go and finally ask out Allison. And he goes and asks out Allison. It was
in a very confident manner, by the way. He wasn't like squirmy or nerdy or whatever. He was just like, "Hey, you know what? You want to go out?"
Right. And she says that she's seen someone, and the rejection hurt a little bit. I'll tell you why it hurt. Because the scene wasn't shot very well to make it seem like it was like a genuine, like she was interested. She kept saying stuff like, "Oh, that's so nice of you."
Yeah.
Immediately, I was like, "Fuck you!" Like I immediately, like all these repressed memories I had inside here started to surface up. So instead, he goes for a bike ride. And on his bike ride, he goes back to.
I had a problem with that bike ride, by the way.
Yeah, it's way too easy.
Well, no, like you can see in the background that there was a girl carrying her bike running up this hill that's like 60-degree slope or something like that, and he's just pedaling up like nothing's happening. No. You'd be dead tired.
Yeah,
pedaling up that hill.
Absolutely. He actually isn't that basketball player. He really so as he finally gets up to his apartment, he realizes a new neighbor is moving in, and lo and behold, the new neighbor is an exact look-alike of Allison, except her name is Nikki, and it's not. Or I'm sorry, her name is Nicole, and her name is Nicole. It can't be Nikki because then it goes from Nikki to Nick to Nin to Neat, and then finally, you
Just
know, which is funny. And the movie kind of wraps up as they take a walk through. I'm assuming I don't know what park they're in San Francisco. I don't know San Francisco parks that well.
the same park that Bobby Fischer played in, apparently.
Apparently, everybody's playing chess at this point.
Yep.
So decides to take a walk as he walks past both Elizabeth Hurley and God in this case. So the devil and God in this case, and they're enjoying a nice little view. And the movie neatly wraps its bow up right there. And yeah, that's Bedazzled. I could see why this is one of your favorite movies. Like this is really a solid movie.
It's a good movie.
It's neither it neither really tries to hammer in too much of the whole religious aspect, which I like, of course, but at the same time, kind of says. It kind of neatly says, you know what, this is the movie that we're presenting. It's a fine movie. Would I say that's Harold Ramis' best comedy? No. I'm a big fan of Groundhog Day, as I'm sure a lot of people are.
Yeah.
But it's still one of those things that you can kind of circle back to and really see why something so menial was so important for a lot of people during that time. So that being said, my buddy James, who is getting your That Guy award?
That's a tough one, actually. I think probably Gabriel Cassius.
Yeah, as God.
Yeah, as God. It's just his scene where he's smoking his cigarette in the jail cell and he's explaining everything. You're just like, man, this guy's right. This guy's okay, yeah. And you're like, man, this guy's got some godlike wisdom. Wait a minute. And then that's like, that's when it hits you. You're like, oh.
Oh. Who's getting your That Chick award?
Oh God, I forgot what her name was. The one that had only done 2 scenes, because of the only 2 scenes or the 2 characters that she did good in both of them. So not Elizabeth Hurley, not Frances O'Connor. What was her name?
Miriam.
Yes, Miriam Scholl, I think.
Miriam Scholl is her name.
Yeah.
Really? Don't give it to Elizabeth Hurley.
It's too easy. That's too easy.
You kind of have to. I would be okay if you actually said Frances O'Connor, because she also had to play like 7 different characters in this movie as well, and really 8 or 9 if you really start kind of spreading that out.
Yeah.
No, I get it though. Who gets your That Fool award?
I mean, Elliot, duh.
Really?
You should be able to outsmart the devil by the 3rd time. After you realize that shit is going wrong, you should be able to outsmart the devil.
Man, I don't believe in God. Do you have a cut that out? Is there a scene in this movie that they're just like, all right, this is all right.
Okay, so there was a scene that was cut out. A very big one. And I was looking up, some of the trivia stuff, and it's even hard to find the scene.
You're talking about the rock scene?
Yeah. Scene. I would have cut out one of the scenes and replaced it with that rock scene in more present times. Maybe that time it was appropriate, but if we were talking about like in 2020 now, I would switch one of those out.
Okay. Fair enough. Does this movie hold up 20 years later? Can you say that this movie is something that a lot of people can still try and enjoy? And if so, how long will it hold up from now?
I believe in all aspects but one, yes, it does hold up. Okay. The only time it does it is when they're talking about technology specs and you're like, oh God, it's so old.
Fair enough. And finally, do you have an iconic scene?
Man, there's so many good scenes though. That's a tough one. I want to say the super sensitive guy, the dolphin scene.
Oh,
I only say that because how did he get through that without laughing? Even if you look, even Frances O'Connor at one point was covering her face because she could not take it. She was laughing so hard.
yeah.
How did he get through that scene without laughing?
I don't know. I don't know. I give credit. I give a lot of credit to him there. All right, mine. So my that guy award is going to go to Elliot. It's pretty easy. Elliot is obviously the protagonist of this, but he does go through a good metamorphosis in this movie. Instead of kind of coming off as this weird, lonely guy, he realizes that whatever is supposed to happen is supposed to happen for him, and he needs to recognize that when shitty behavior or toxic behavior becomes this thing that they can't be a part of anymore, which is also part of the reason why he had no problem saying goodbye to that group of friends they thought were really his friends.
Yeah.
Even if this movie didn't end on the note of him finding Nicole, you still would believe that at least he learned a lot from this interaction, and very likely things would probably change for him, let's say in the next 90 days or so.
I would say at least he learned how to at least he knows now that he wants to make the world a better place and not just live in it.
Right, exactly. Which is part of the reason why he's my that guy. My that chick award, really, in my eyes, there's two picks. The first pick being Elizabeth Hurley, and the other one is being Frances O'Connor. I have to give it to Elizabeth Hurley because this movie is nowhere near as good without Elizabeth Hurley's character in this.
That's fair.
Not only is she sexy, but she feels clever. She feels confident in this movie. I don't think the sexiness is ever over the top with her.
It's not.
Even when she goes into the bikini, it's just like, wow, you are gorgeous. You are just wow. You look amazing. And mind you, I gotta appreciate a little bit Harold Ramis here, as well as the costume designer Apple, because it was very clear that they really wanted to bring out the sexual attraction of Elizabeth Hurley in this, but nothing felt slutty.
No, it didn't.
Right. Nothing felt like it was like out of place. Nothing felt like that you sat there and you're like, this doesn't age well.
There was even that hidden nod too, in one of the outfits that she was wearing. Right. One of them was a snakeskin outfit, and she was eating an apple that had already had a bite taken out of it. I was like, oh, they're even playing with the costumes and stuff in here.
Yeah, and it's still, again, one of those things where it's like, does she feel slutty? I don't. I feel like she was actually gorgeous in this movie.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like it felt like enough to attract a man's eye, but not enough to really like drool or slobber over here. Just like stunning. But not only that, but you kind of have to like this portrayal of the devil as well, because the devil is always usually perceived as like this evil person. And while her aspects definitely towards the end seemed a little bit more eviler than usual, she was more the format that I like, which is mischievous.
Yeah.
Which is, okay, you're gonna get what you want, I'm gonna get what I want, but I'm going to turn this in a way for me to really kind of twist the knife a little bit.
Yep.
My That Full award has to go to the friends of Ellie, or the coworkers of Ellie, especially, but specifically, because I give credit to them when they're in character in the wishes, but when they snap back to reality, and the one guy just kind of comes up and just and is clearly mocking Ellie.
Yeah.
Dude, what are you doing? Like, are you just trying to antagonize him? Do you realize Brendan Fraser's like 6'4" and could probably punch your lights out right there? If he hits you, it's over for you for a week.
Nerd or not, he is a big guy, okay?
Right. And I'm not saying that you can't pick on the gentle giant or whatnot, but dude, like that's a bear you don't poke.
And he found out too. He found out quick not to poke that bear.
You know what? You always thought the worst, and Elliot at least was classy enough to let him go.
Yeah.
I don't know. Might cut that out. It's interesting that you bring up the deleted scene because the deleted scene was really would really push that hard R in this movie. The
Yeah,
lead scene had like Allison and him have sex on stage. They go, and I've seen this scene. Allison and him have sex on stage, and then they they're doing hard drugs as he brings out a bong onto which is whatever, but they're doing hard drugs, and it's like I would be interested to kind of see that. I would probably replace the Abraham Lincoln one
yeah,
if that's the case, because the Abraham Lincoln one always felt like while the intention, because you're seeing Elliot kind of change as a person go through there, the intention was, they could have easily said, I want to be somebody that changes the world and try to turn him into like a Bono type, right?
yeah.
It would have been perfect, right? For that sequence, because he would have been like, oh, this is a guy that like really gives charity, and then you see him like, yeah, like being all gross and as if mocking Bono, because Bono I don't think is that type, but still like just that. But no, I do agree with you on that. Does this movie hold up well, and where can this go years from now? Yes, clearly this is a premise, and first of all, it's an interesting premise. The idea of introducing the devil in a fun, kind of comedic, mischievous light to help out a poor soul, or to help out a poor soul, into fulfilling the kind of person they actually want to wind up being. That is a premise that you could rewrite over and over and over again, and you could find TV episodes that try to do this thing. There are comic books that have done very similar things. There's the monkey paw idea is never going to go away because everybody likes the idea of easy street, right? So in terms of holding up, this is just one. This is just another one in that kind of collection of stories that really really does hold up.
And there's even proof that it is holding up. I just saw the other day on Facebook, maybe a few days ago, make a wish and then I'll corrupt it and we'll see what the funniest thing that happens is. Like that is literally this story.
Right. So, and people still kind of play along with this idea because everybody likes the idea of getting the one thing they always desired, but at the same time, kind of something terrible happens afterwards, right? Because everybody enjoys that. So, does it hold up? Yes. Does it have a feature? Does it have a feature? Absolutely. It's not. It's not. In terms of maybe the movie quality, if somebody wants to turn around and say, "Oh, well, I don't know if this movie is going to wind up holding up," I don't know. There's something to take away from the movie to at least enjoy. You know, even 10, 15 years from now, you're going to watch this movie and be like, "Oh, wow, this is what like 2000s comedy was." And it's like, kind of like
Yeah.
like somewhat. They were really experimenting with special effects at that time. Especially during that devil scene, which is
So accurate. Like it's such a good scene.
like the fires in that were probably just as good as Spawn's fire in the actual movie. Or if you ever played the computer game from 3D Studios, repping them real quick, Uprising, it was probably just as good as that. Which that's a computer game I would really like to see somebody remake. But it's fine. It's not very harmful. And finally, iconic scenes. So you really got a good one with the sensitive scene, and I really had to think about this, mainly because of how mainly because of how ridiculous that scene is, and it is absolutely ridiculous. But I kind of have to give it to the first wish because you needed to get the idea and premise of how weird is this are these wishes going to wind up being,
Yeah.
and to kind of hit the whole idea of this Tony Montana idea where you're coming in and but the problem was that you have the nicest guy possible playing Tony Montana. It's hilarious to me.
Yeah.
You ever watch Barry?
Nope.
Okay, they have an actor in there, Anthony Kerrigan, who plays who who neither plays a good guy nor a bad guy, but he's just kind of one of the supporting roles in it, and he's hilarious because he's like this. I don't know. He's kind of like this concierge of bad guys. It's kind of like the best way. He's like he's kind of like super into himself, and he's really funny. But that's how I picture Elliot. Elliot was like this guy that was just like, wow, I finally got my one big wish. And for it to finally go down the path that it does is just it's enlightening for me. So
Yeah.
let's get into some takeaways or some quick hits. Sorry, quick hits. Sorry, I know you guys are going to be very particular about my language here. So we can wrap this thing up. And all right, so I know we're pretty much reading off the same thing, so that's perfectly fine. I'm just going to take the first one. The mathematics homework that the devil removes from the classroom background was effectively to prove Fermat's last theorem, a legendary problem from 1630 that was often the subject of stories about people selling their souls to solve it. The problem was eventually solved in 1995 by Andrew Wiles and colleagues with computer, not satanic, assistance.
The producer, Trevor Albert, has said that schoolgirl outfit that everybody likes was actually Elizabeth Hurley's.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Which is why it fits so well.
The devil mentions that on November 16th, she'll have been doing her job for about 6,000 years. This is, of course, in reference to Archbishop James Ussher, who in the 17th century calculated that the birth of the world was on Sunday, October 23rd, 4004 BC. According to his calculations, Adam and Eve were thrown out of paradise on Monday, November 10th.
It'd make more sense if it was November 3rd, I think, but November 10th works. And then we got to bring up the super important fact of how to see the last deleted scene of the rock party. So if you go into the DVD itself, you go to the second special features page, you highlight the top choice, and you click right. You'll get to the Elizabeth Hurley shoulder with a devil on it. That's how you see the deleted scene. Right. It was like a little trick to get there.
And my final one, near the end of the film, Elliot is seen riding his bike up Filbert Street in the Russian Hill neighborhood of San Francisco. The bike was clearly being pulled up by the steep hill by a cable attached to a winch, which of course was erased in post-production because he's way too happy to be riding up that hill
so easily.
Lance Armstrong in it. He wasn't even sweating.
There's no way.
Or are you good?
Well, no, I think that's it.
I think
we hit everything.
So I want to give a special thanks to my buddy James here for coming through in the clutch with this wonderful, wonderful movie. Once again, you can go check out his Twitch, RunResetRun, twitch.tv/RunResetRun to do so. But James, where else can these people find you in case they don't want to follow you on Twitch?
Well, then they just don't follow me at all. No, I'm just kidding. If you just look up Run Reset Run on Facebook, or if you just look for my face, James Alexander, you'll see usually me and my girlfriend in some kind of profile picture in there.
No, I'm sure.
I answer every question that comes to me. So
yes, and she's a fantastic cosplayer that you should definitely check out. Is she
Blossom Fox LV?
Blossom LV. Please go check her out. Her name is
wait, hold on. What? Okay, I got it wrong. What is it? Okay, I had it backwards. LV Blossom Fox.
LV Blossom Fox. LV Blossom Fox. Her name is Fabi Carmichael. She's a fantastic. She's absolutely fantastic in her own cosplay and everything that she does. As for myself, you can follow us at the Instagram page and Facebook page, BTTC Podcasts. I'm one of the co-hosts here for Back to the Classics, as my boy Jay kind of took the week off to kind of spend a little bit more time with his family this week. As for the show itself, you can check out our Facebook page and our Facebook group, Back to the Classics Movie Talk group, where we are constantly posting, and I'm loving that everybody is just kind of posting whatever on it now because it gets so exhausting.
I'm quite fond of the Spider-Man argument we're having right now about which Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man.
There is no argument with this. Was and only is the best Spider-Man. There's a reason he's the one that's getting the spinoff and not anybody else. People want more Spider-Man noir. He had a full character arc. He can't see in color, so he's in a world that has no color, and his role is to figure out how to solve a Rubik's cube that he has no color with.
Or, I mean, you could just be Shamik Moore and just be the better Spider-Man.
Sure, whatever. I mean, sure. Shamik Moore is a perfectly great Spider-Man. I have no issue with that. But Nick Cage had a real character arc there, very personal there. As well as for BTTC podcast, you can also catch us on, of course, the Big Four, which is Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. So make sure you go ahead and check back there. As well as follow everything Beat Network at Beat Network, or you can check out our website, beatnetworkonline.com. That's going to do it for us. If you wish to kind of follow me, follow those guys, and then I'll just kind of, I'll just DM you later, and be like, hey, you follow this guy as well. So that's going to do it for us. Once again, big shout out to James, my buddy here. Hopefully this gets the like and attraction that we want. It's going to be very, very, very fun October as we kind of wrap things up as we wrap up things here. Next week, we do not have a guest, but I promise you it's an episode nobody's going to want to miss. So please make sure you check us out next week. And that does it here. I'm Dane Neff. With me is my guy, James.
James, you got to do the finger guns like Allison did.
This is Back to the Classics. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.